Merlin has arrived in Smite 2.
Let's go over his kit and how to play him. Merlin is a typical ranged mid laner who does magical damage and scales off of intelligence. This means when we're building him, we want to build him full offense, full intelligence to do as much damage as possible. But I'm going to go over a build after we go over his abilities. Now, Merlin is a fairly complicated god because he has so many abilities. He has 3 different stances he can go to by shifting with his ult. He has the Void stance, the Fire stance, and the Ice stance. Each one of these stances has 3 different abilities. However, the 3, this little TP blink, will always stay the same. However, depending on which stance you're in, it will do a different effect, but we'll get onto that when we actually get to the 3. In order to switch stances, you just press 4 and it will sequentially rotate through the Void, Fire, and Ice stance, as you can see in his little passive indicator here. However, you can actually select which stance you want to go to by pressing while the ult is going off in this animation. You have about 1 second to press 1, 2, or 3 to change to each stance. Void is 1, Fire is 2, Ice is 3. So if I were to press 4 right now, it would go to Ice stance if I didn't click anything else. But if I press 4 and then immediately press 1 while it's switching, I will go to Void stance instead. Just like that. Going back to Merlin's passive, every time he casts an ability, he gets an enhanced auto that does a little extra damage. This stacks up to 3 times, so cast 3 abilities, get 3 supercharged autos, do a little extra damage. I'm going to go over each stance in itself, as it's kind of an entirely different kit. His 1, in his purple stance, you shoot out this glowing galaxy type ability that does initial damage on hit, and then DOT damage for anyone trapped inside this radius. His 2 is a little void field that detonates after a short second and pulls enemies towards the center of. You can see the totem is gonna, there we go, pulls it right in. The 3, as in all stances as mentioned, is a little combat blink, just boop, quick little blip. However, the 3 will change its effect after you teleport depending on what stance you're in. So for the void stance, well, technically arcane, as you can see here. I call it void. It's easier to remember. You heal 30% of the damage taken within the last 4 seconds. Going over to test that out with our buddy, the Fire Giant. He deals damage, deals damage, deals damage. I use my blink, and it heals back 30% of the past 4 seconds of damage I took. Moving on to his Fire stance. His 1, you can see on the indicator, is a line attack, does fire damage, and applies a burn. His 2 are these 2 dragons, which look really great. You place it down and it does damage in all of this, and it does a burn. However, you can see there's this little overlapping oval here in the middle. This will deal both dragons worth of damage, so you really want to line up your enemies right there in the middle for the maximum amount of damage. The 3, his blink, the effect is your basic attacks apply the radiate burn to enemies hit. So blink, you can see that little indicator right above my hotbar, right here. Blink. Now I'm dealing a DOT fire effect, just like in this ability, the 2, and the 1. Switching over to his final stance, the Ice stance, his 1 is this little ice beam. Shoot it out, projectile, does damage when hit, first enemy hit. However, if you hit somebody, it does this little splash damage around it, as you can see. This will hit all enemies inside. Let's see if I can go test that on a minion here. Deals damage to all the enemies in that radius. His 2 on his Ice stance is this circle. Place it down, deals an ice storm that deals damage for as long as you're inside of it, and slows enemies. And lastly, the ability on his 3 is all cooldowns are reduced by 5 seconds flat. So if I turn off reduce cooldowns here and use that, as soon as I blink, you're going to see that drop 5 seconds immediately. So that 1 immediately came back for me. Now let's get into some combos that we can use. Knowing what the abilities do are nice, but actually putting them into practice is a whole nother story. So let's start with the Void stance here. Traditional combo here is throw out the 2 first, as it takes a second to detonate, then immediately cast the 1. So we're pulling the enemy into the center of the 1, allowing us to deal a maximum amount of damage. So we're going to use the totem here, throw out the 2, then the 1. They get sucked right into the middle, then take all of that DOT while they try to run out of it. Onto the fire stance. Of course, as soon as we switch over to fire, we want to cast down the 2 and then the 1. So while they're inside of the damage dragon circle, we're also hitting them with this flame DOT, which also, as I should have mentioned earlier, shreds protections. And that will do a ton of damage on tanks. A ton. Lastly, on the ice stance, of course, we want to put down the 2 to slow them, then the 1 to deal extra damage. Because as we can see, that did 200 damage. 200, 200. However, when we slow, you can see the little extra bit of damage pop up on top of the 200. So it's 200 plus that little 30. That extra damage, of course, we want to get in there. And now the ult isn't just used to switch stances. It's also a damaging ability that really catches people off guard with how much damage it does. So standing next to the totem, when I switch, it does 210 damage twice. First hit, going out, second hit, returning in. Now, as you can see, as I'm doing that, the totem is getting hit with multiple different variations of damage. Now, whichever stance you choose to go into will have an extra effect on your alt switch. So if I'm in ice stance and I choose to go to void stance, I'm going to knock them up. If I'm in void stance and I go to fire stance, I deal that damage over time fire burn effect. And if I go into ice stance, they get slowed and take a little frostburn damage. Now, you can't actually stance switch and stay in your current stance just for the damage. So, for example, if I'm in ice stance, I burn all my abilities. Granted, I have infinite cooldowns on. And I go, oh, I want to stay in ice stance. I just want to do the damage. So if I'm going to press the alt and then press 3 to try to stay in ice stance, it doesn't work. It just automatically kicks me to void. Now, it seems like a lot. He has a lot of abilities. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different damaging normal abilities, plus 3 different alts with 3 different effects, and then the blink, which has different effects on each stance. It's a lot to understand and handle, and it will certainly take a lot of time to master Merlin, but that is why he is so fun to me. He is such a high skill ceiling god who has endless capabilities because his stance can be used multiple different ways in multiple different scenarios. You may want to poke people from afar with the ice stance. It's got good range, really low cooldowns. Just keep poking them, keep poking them. Then as soon as someone jumps on you, switch right over to fire, dump all your fire on top of you and get them off, deal a ton of damage at once. You may want to go to void stance and CC someone, pull them in, chain them. Really finding what scenario you want to use each stance is just takes time and understanding his kit, his playstyle, and what's used for what scenario. As for a build for Merlin, he's really gonna thrive with low cooldowns because he has so many abilities. I would prefer to go Conduit Gem first item just for a little extra damage, but you could absolutely go Sands of Time as well. Getting Chronos item is certainly a pretty good option as your first item to really lower your cooldowns and take advantage of that early. You could build into Book of Thoth to stack, but building out a solid build, I think, would be Chronos Pendant into Soul Gem, into Rada Tahuti, into, if they have healing, go into a Divine Rune for anti-heal. If not, maybe a Spear, then an Obsidian Shard, which for some reason I cannot find here. Let me type it in. Obsidian Shard, and then if they have big tanks, Soul Reaver to really cut through that. If not, you could always sell and get a little less penetration and go for even a Staff of Merlin, which reduces your cooldowns even further. And then you also have the option to remove Chronos Pendant. Don't build that first item. Instead, let me sell everything here to show you. Instead, either start with a Divine or a Spear. Divine if they have heal, Spear if they don't. Let's go Spear into Book of Thoth to stack. A lot of people go Book of Thoth first item. I'm not a huge fan because I feel like you lose out on a ton of early game power and pressure, which Merlin is really good at because he has access to so many more abilities at level 2 than anyone else. So Spear into Thoth into stacking, then back to our regular kind of core Rod, Obsidian Shard, Soul Gem, Soul Reaver. As for Relic, depends on who you're facing against. They removed Combat Blink, and you do have the little blink here, which is very short, but it really throws people off and is quite good at dodging quick attacks. So I would probably go with something a little safer like Beads or Aegis. And that's it for a quick little Merlin guide. I hope it helps. He just came out. Go out, have a ton of fun with him. He is actually my most played god in Smite 1. I love him to death. Super happy he's here and can't wait to play him in the mid lane, maybe play him in jungle, get a little wild, get a little crazy, and see you out there.